Good evening, madam. This is Dr. Chandrasekhar Sharma. Good evening, everybody.
Sir. Yes.
I find the volume is the sound is very low.
It's fine, sir. We are able to get you, sir.
The sound is very low. Chalo, that's good.
Present here on behalf of Chhattisgarh Forum.
No, I can't hear. Actually, the voice is very, very low.
My voice, sir.
Yeah.
But we can hear it very clearly and loudly.
Yeah. I don't know. What's the fault?
Very good evening to one and all virtually present here. I welcome you all on behalf of Chhattisgarh Forum ISPL. ISPL is a society for the promotion of English language and literature. The purpose of this forum is to facilitate, to facilitate language literature among the students and teachers by organizing study lectures by the eminent speakers. Today's topic is very interesting. Bastar Dushera. Its significance for the students of English literature and for the students of English literature. Bastar Dushera is the unique cultural trait of Chhattisgarh. Dushera is celebrated in India to hail the triumph of Lord Rama over Ravan. But unlike other parts of India, Dushera here in Bastar is homage to the local deity, goddess Danteshwari. It is also one of the longest festival in the world. It is celebrated for continuous 75 days, which is in itself a record. And speak on the topic, we have with us Dr. Mr. K.S. Ram, Advisor, Department of Urban Development, Government of Chhattisgarh. I welcome you, sir. After the session, we have with us our very own, the patron of this forum, Dr. Kirti Tiwari, Professor and Head, Department of Postgraduate and Studies in English, Government of Chhattisgarh College, Raipur. He is also the patron of ISPL CG Forum. And to moderate the session, we have with us Mrs. Vinti Ravalkar Das. Mrs. Vinti Ravalkar Das graduated from Yoganandam Chhattisgarh College, Pandit Ravi Shankar Shukla University in the year 2019. Later, she did her MA from Yoganandam Chhattisgarh College, Raipur, where she was president of the English Club during 2019 to 2021. She got awarded a scholarship for being the topper in her master's. After completing her post-graduation, she has also done her postgraduate diploma in translation from Indira Gandhi National Open University. She was also one of the executive members of the ISPL. Immediately after her post-graduation, she joined Rawatpura Sarkar University as assistant professor English, but left after some time to prepare for NET JRF exam. She is an aspiring JRF aspirant and wants to do her PhD from a reputed institution. So I welcome Vinti. Please, Vinti, now the platform is all yours. Vinti, please.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. Just a second, Bindi, please ask everyone to get themselves muted so that no echoing sounds would pass through the
Okay, okay.
streaming. Yeah, thank you.
So before we commence today's event, I request everyone to please keep your mics muted. So for a smooth run of today's event, kindly mute yourself. Thank you. Right. So thank you, ma'am. Thank you and good evening all. All revered Dr. G. A. Ghanshyam, founder of Indian Society for the Promotion of English Language and Literature, Dr. Kirti Tiwari, patron of iSpell, CG Forum, and chairperson of today's event, Mr. K.S. Ram, chief speaker of today's event, Dr. Harpreet Kaur Garcha, president iSpell CG Forum, Dr. Archana Singh, convener iSpell CG Forum, faculty fraternity from different institutions, research scholars, students, and all the valuable members of iSpell. My warm greetings and cordial welcome to you all. It's my privilege, and I feel so thrilled and elated to be back on the platform of iSpell as the moderator of today's event. Thank you, ma'am, and thank you, sir, for giving me the opportunity. As we move ahead with the program, I would like to start with a quote which says, "Coming together is beginning, keeping together is progress, and working together is success." Unquote. And indeed, it is true when we talk about the journey of iSpell. iSpell from where it began to what it is today. In the able leadership of our esteemed founder, Dr. G. A. Ghanshyam, and in constant guidance of Dr. Kirti Tiwari, the patron of iSpell CG Forum, we all came together to mark the beginning of iSpell. We kept on going, progressing, and working together to get the success that iSpell has achieved today. In such a short period of time, iSpell has achieved a lot, but there is still a long way to go, and I know we together will strive ahead till the very end. Once again, I welcome you all to this online Saturday intellectual meet organized by iSpell CG Forum on the topic Bastar Dushera, its significance for the students of English literature. So as we have reached to the most awaited part of this event, I would like to call upon our esteemed guest, the chief speaker of today's event, Mr. K.S. Ram sir. K.S. Ram sir graduated from Karnataka University, winning the gold medal for topping an English major in 1974. Later, he did his MA from the University of Mysore, where he was the president of Literary Club during 1975 to 76. He taught English in Sarda Vilas College, Mysore, before relocating to the tribal heartland of Jagdalpur, Bastar, Chhattisgarh. In the late 70s, as an officer in State Bank of India. He later quit the bank to become CEO of the cement company in Chhattisgarh. In 1999, he quit the commercial sector to serve in the development sector. He was project director, Literacy Mission Secretary, Vandhan Mission, a state-sponsored program for promotion of tribal livelihoods. This program is now a national program called Pradhan Mantri Vandhan Vikas Yojana. Most importantly, K.S. Ram sir mooted the idea of Bastar Lokotsav as an annual event coinciding with Dussehra to showcase the tribal culture of Bastar. He was organizing secretary of Bastar Lokotsav for the first 3 years, that is from 2000 to 2002. K.S. Ram sir has documented his 3-decade-long experience in Bastar, especially the tribal settler conflicts, in the form of what he calls documentary poems, published under the title Bastar and Miscellaneous Poems. For his work in Bastar, he was invited to speak in IIM Ahmedabad. He was also interviewed on The Voice of America and featured in the Q&A column of the Times of India. He is currently based in Bangalore, but serving as advisor to the government of Chhattisgarh, Department of Urban Development. He has also served as advisor to TRIFED, an undertaking of Ministry of Tribal Affairs, Government of India. Earlier, he served as senior advisor in the Ministry of Shipping, Government of India, Chhattisgarh Housing Board, Raipur, and MP State Civil Supplies Corporation, Bhopal. K.S. Ram sir and his wife, Dr. Uma Ram, who was formerly professor and head Department of English, Kakatia PG College, Jagdalpur, are impaneled columnists for the Times of India. Their short essays in the Speaking Tree column have been published in a book form titled Are You a Monkey or Are You a Kitten? They have jointly and civilly authored several books, including Tribal Songs, Ballads, and Oral Epics of Bastar, a critical study supported by the UGC. They have translated into English several works from Hindi, including Gulan Kanda, a short novel by Sanjeev Bakshi. The film based on this novel won the National Film Award in the regional category in year 2021. Kabir's Dohas, translated into English by K.S. Ramsar in 1986 under the title Dohavali, won heady praise from many including P.L., Pilal and Mulkraj Anand. Ramsar and Uma Ma'am have also translated English selected poems of Harihar Vaishnav. K.S. Ramsar was commissioned by Chhattisgarh Tourism Board to write about Bastar Dushera. K.S. Ram has also authored a book titled Glimpses of Bastar. His poem Bastar Dushera, or How the Tribes Were Conquered, is now prescribed for BA students in the Autonomous College, Government JY Yoganandam Chhattisgarh College of Raipur. And with such marvelous life experience and close link with the tribal life of Chhattisgarh, here we have with us the eminent
Hello. Hello, Vinti. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Is there any issue?
Yes. You are actually muted. What happened?
Okay, maybe.
Neither visible nor audible.
Okay, so did it stop in between, or did I end the introduction part?
No, you have introduced, but
Okay.
the last line.
In between it happened. Okay, I'm so sorry for the glitch that happened. We are so honored, sir, to have you with us, and once again I welcome you, and I am so honored to have the opportunity to moderate this event and get you as the guest and chief speaker with us today. And we are just eagerly waiting for your deliberation. Just take over the stage, sir, and I request you to now take over the stage and fill us with your immense knowledge.
Am I audible now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. So I begin. The whoever saw the flyer for today's talk and whoever is attending this talk must have been struck by the topic Bastar Dushera and its significance to students of English literature. It sounds very intriguing. What on earth would students of English literature have to do with Bastar and the Dushera there, except, of course, a general interest like anybody else? Let me therefore resolve this enigma at the outset. If all of us, if students of English literature anywhere in the world are asked a question as to which poem of the 20th century would they rate as the greatest, the most significant, the most impactful, what would we say? We all, I assume, will agree that The Wasteland of T.S. Eliot would win the poll hands down. T.S. Eliot acknowledged two books as the source for this poem. One, The Golden Bough by Sir James Fraser, and two, From Ritual to Romance by Jessie Weston. The first book launched a new discipline in the academic world, namely social anthropology. The second book also has much to do with anthropology. Both books deal with ancient primitive societies and the faith and rites and rituals they practiced. James Fraser's thesis was that religion began as magic. I would say it still is so. It is so with all of us. Every morning after ablution and bath, what do? We light a small lamp and offer some flowers before a symbol of God. And we light an agarbatti and wave it round the symbol. Why? Because we believe this little ritual will remove all hurdles and make our day good. The agarbatti, in effect, is a magic wand we are waving. Otherwise, what does a little lamp or an agarbatti have to do with our office and personal work? This shows that we trust magic and practice it in the garb of religion. What are the faith and rites and rituals that the ancient primitive societies practiced, from which the subject matter of the two books that inspired the wasteland? These are called vegetation rites or fertility rites. It is in the scheme of things that the earth can turn barren into a wasteland, that the rains may not shower in sufficient time in adequate measure, that the cattle do not yield milk and meat, that rivers and ponds dry up, that disease and untimely death become common, that climate behavior changes into extremities. This is not about geography. It is about our equation with divine governors of the universe. Ancient societies believed that these divine governors could be appeased and adverse conditions can be averted through magical rites by a qualified person. Who was this qualified person? He was the tribe's head priest. The priest was the king in early societies. He had to be the most potent person. He had to intervene with the powers that be to ensure that nature was well regulated and that his tribe's folk lived in peace. When the priest would lose his potency to effectively intervene with the powers that be, he would be ritually killed and his blood would be used to propitiate earth. A new, young, and potent priest would succeed him. It was in course of time that the office of the priest cum king was split into two, priest and king, Raja and Rajguru. The entire scheme of primitive faith is based on the premise that everything has a soul, just as human beings. The forest, the river, the pond, the beast, the birds, the rocks, all are alive. Each is a spirit. This system of faith in spirits is called animism. It is spirituality coming from spirit. It is spirituality. Everything animates with life. There is no such thing as an inanimate object. All are at par in God's creation. Vasudha, earth, is a kutumba, a large joint family. Peaceful coexistence is the mantra of life. The Vedic term for this state of universal well-being is Shanti. T.S. Eliot ends The Wasteland with the magical chant of triple Shanti. It was the primitive, eternal, what we call Sanatana faith that such Shanti needs to be, can be, and must be sustained through certain community level magical rites and rituals. The Vedas, we know, have nearly 1 lakh verses. 80,000 among these relate to such magical chants and rites. These are given the general label of Karma Kanda. The ideal art of living is to be, just be, and take delight in God's creation. Human civilization, driven by greed, has glorified becoming. I must endlessly aspire to become more senior in my job, richer in my economic status, and more famed in the world. This ceaseless urge to become is at the root of human misery. We call this way of life development and glorify it. The primitive art of living was, in fact, it is, based on being, just being, and living in sync with nature and the cosmic scheme of things. This way of life is sedentary, but it is not idleness. It is innate spiritual dynamism. In Blake's language, it is innocence with a capital I. What the two books, the two sources of Eliot's The Wasteland describe in academic terms is the everyday living practice in Bastar even in the present times. T.S. Eliot would have been fascinated to get an opportunity to witness the life and esoteric religious practices in tribal Bastar. We all, the students of English literature, will be able to better appreciate the poem, The Wasteland, if we get some degree of immersion into the ways and festivals of tribal Bastar. I am consciously using the plural festivals, although the topic relates only to Dushera. Because Bastar Dushera should not be viewed in isolation. It should be viewed in the larger framework of festivals in tribal Bastar. An interesting point for any student of social anthropology is how essentially similar, the religions and rituals of primitive societies are worldwide, whether it is Africa or Native America or Australia or Bastar. Major rituals of primitive societies the worldwide relate to A, propitiating the earth, B, loosening of water, that is rain, C, fertility and productivity of cattle, humans, land, and forests, D, the first fruits festival, E, frustrating evil spirits so that they do no harm, and F, thanksgiving to the powers that be for granting us Shanti through the year. In Bastar, we have Mati Tyohar, Vija Pandum as vegetation rites, Bhimul Khut rituals to bring down rain if clouds play truant, fertility rites, Sirha system to gather oracular intelligence regarding evil spirits and how to deal with them, Gunias for holistic health care, and the Madai as an event of thanksgiving. Looking to the constraint of time, I shall focus only on the Madai. What is a Madai? It is also called Mandai. Whenever the surrounding natural resources of a village were inadequate to sustain the growing population, a new village was created. The location of the new satellite village was decided by the Devi, meaning her medium, the Sirha. A sister, inverted commas, a sister of the presiding deity of the parent village would be created to preside over the new village. Over time, multiple satellite villages got created around a parent village. The sibling deities of these villages gather once a year, usually in the parent village. Such a divine gathering is called the Madai. Bastar Dushera is an extended Madai. How? When the Kakatiya royal Annamdev migrated to Bastar in the early 14th century to escape the Bahami invaders who had dethroned and slain his brother Pratap Rudradev, the Raja brought with him the tutelary deity of the Kakatiyas, namely Manikeshwari, who later acquired the name of Danteshwari. Devi Danteshwari was made into a younger sister of the local tribal deity, who went by the generic name of Mauli. Shrines to Danteshwari mushroomed in various villages. The main shrine is in Dantewada. In fact, if one is to join the dots of Danteshwari temples in various villages in Bastar, when one can draw the contours of the kingdom of the Kakatiya Bastar Raja. In the traditional tribal manner, Danteshwari temple at the southern gate in Jagdalpur Palace annually hosts her sibling deities from various villages. Formal invites are sent by her to each of the deities. The congregation of deities from the 9 parganas of the Bastar state is what constitutes Bastar Dushera. The chief guest in this congregation, of course, is Devi Mauli, who comes from Dantewala on the 10th day, the Dussehra day. Her arrival is marked by great light and sound of drums, horns, and fireworks. It is known as Mauli Parghao or reception of Mauli. After a sojourn of 3 nights in Jagdalpur, she and all other deities returned to their various places on the 13th day after a farewell ceremony known as Ohadi, in which sacred gifts are given to all the deities. The very fact of the congregation is a ritual to secure Shanti and well-being. The chief attraction of Bastar Dushera for tourists is the pulling of the massive chariot in which the king rode earlier on a swing. The chariot is pulled by nearly 400 Muria tribesmen. A new chariot is made every year. Why does the king ride it? The Bastar Raja ruled over the tribes as head priest of Danteshwari. During Bastar Dushera, he would delegate the kingly administrative functions to his diwan and serve full time as the head priest of Danteshwari. In effect, it is he who plays the chief host to the various deities who congregate in Jagdalpur. Why a swing? A swing is the seat of a Devi and her medium, the Sirha. The Raja thus rode the chariot in his capacity as the medium or chief Sirha of Devi Danteshwari, who had by default become the presiding deity of Bastar state. More of this would be in the poem that would be read at the end of this. There are several components of Bastar Dushera, which stretch over 75 days, starting with Pat Jatra on Hareli Amavasya in the month of Shravan, and closing with Ohadi on the 13th day of Shukla Paksha in the month of Ashwin. Other key components, I wouldn't like to go into every one of these because of the constraint of time. Other key components include Kachan Gadi, where a pre-puberty girl of the Mirgin caste swings on a throne of thorns and grants to the Raja, who has come to her to seek her divine consent for successful celebration of the Dussehra. She gives the consent in the form of a floral garland to the king. Then there is a component of the Jogi Bithai, in which a youth sits half buried in a pit in penance for 9 days to secure success of Dussehra. The chariot circumambulates the shrine of Mauli opposite to the Sirasar Bhavan in Jagdalpur. On the Dussehra night, the chariot is stolen within inverted commas. The chariot is stolen and pulled away by the tribesfolk to Kumda Court on the southern bank of Indravati. It's about 3 kilometers from the palace. On the 11th day, after the king visits Kumda Court and performs certain rituals there, the chariot is pulled back to Sirasar. This, in brief, is Bastar Dushera, an extended Madai organized according to primitive faith to secure well-being of all through religio-magic means. Of all the tribal festivals, it is only the Dushera which was highly and directly patronized by the Raja. It is the only festival that the tribes and the royals celebrated jointly. Over time, it was but natural that it acquired political shades. A common allegation one hears in Jagdalpur is that Dussehra today has become a Sarkari event. What such people forget is that it was a Sarkari event even during the days of Kakatiya rulers in Bastar. To return to Jessie Weston, her finding in the book is that solemn religio-magical vegetation fertility rituals in the Celtic part of England transformed over time to become mystery plays and romances. Hence the title, From Ritual to Romance. It is so with Madai in Bastar, which got conjoined with Mela, where traders set up shops and merry-go-rounds and merry-go-wheels, where vendors do brisk business selling cheap sweets and toys and balloons. Of all the Madais in Bastar, Bastar Dushera as an extended Madai attracts more traders and much larger crowds and giant wheels. The ritual has faded a little. The romance is growing with every passing year. Let us now discuss the poem. The poem you may find to be slightly different in line from what was spoken till now, because it's more to deal with how the tribes were conquered in the context of Bastar Dushera. As the moderator Vinti mentioned, I like to call this documentary poems. Documentary poems, why? Because in this section, it was first my intention to write a book in prose. But then I found that documenting so many things, it was not only about Bastar Dushera, it was also about the education, the healthcare, the forests, the environment, etc., that documenting it in the formal manner was a different ball game. And I felt that it was coming off better in the form of poems. Documentary poems is a phrase I coined for myself, but documentary poems have been there for long. I can mention Chaucer's Canterbury Tales is a documentary poem, or Oliver Goldsmith's The Deserted Village, that's a documentary poem. Likewise, I like to flatter myself thinking that these set of poems are documentary poems giving glimpses into Bastar. In this section, Bastar Dushera is one of the poems. Bastar Dushera is subtitled, or how the tribes were conquered. About Bastar Dushera, Dr. Archana has already spoken enough, and that's adequate. Bastar Dushera is a major tourism event today, and it is in that context. In fact, I don't know whether to say I'm proud of it or ashamed of it, that the flyer for Bastar Dushera for Chhattisgarh Tourism Board was prepared by me. The text in Hindi is by Lala Jagdalpuri, the late Lala Jagdalpuri, and the English text is by me. It's a Diglot edition. Now, I read out the poem. Black, brown bodies glistening with sweat. Please note, it is black, brown bodies. It's not black, brown persons or human beings. Black, brown bodies glistening with sweat are at work in the sun, hewing, hammering fresh, damp timber to build a new chariot for the king to ride this Dushera. 'Tis an assignment these men have done, as their forefathers did before them, year after year for generations now. The entire village abuzz on an appointed day. Tall sal trees are ritually logged and, like ants hauling an oversized booty in improvised ways through forests and hills, the sacred burden is shoulder borne to Sirasar after 2 heavy days of trekking. In fact, earlier the government tried very often, thinking that these people are risking their lives because about 30 odd persons covered on both sides of the log would be hauling it for nearly about 30 miles. So the government had suggested that we can bring it in a truck or something, but no, it was a ritual and therefore they had to shoulder bear it to Sirasar. After 2 heavy days of trekking, priests have sanctified with sacrificial blood the wood the bodies are working upon. It is a grueling task that saps away the black-brown bodies at work. It is largely begar, forced labor, against a dole of rice and salt. Forced labor it is, made to look unforced to the onlooker as also the worker through a subtle politics of power. The black-brown bodies have been cultured to believe herein is their honor, the glory of their mother. And they do this because their forebears did it, and they do it because there are others doing it. Specific tribes and villages are assigned specific tasks leading to the making and the pulling of the juggernaut. Their toil is their right and their exclusive privilege. Their sweat is their tribute to the king, the priest. The king's forefather, a fugitive fleeing the terror of invaders more able than he, because he himself also was an invader who came to Bastar and subdued everybody. The king's forefather, a fugitive fleeing the terror of invaders more able than he, fled his native state in Warangal and crossed the Godavari some centuries back to secure his life in the wilderness of Bastar. After early conquests and liquidation of smaller chieftains that ruled here, after the frequent shifting of camps, his successors settled down or sought to settle down amidst Bastar Adivasis on the banks of Indravati, I've used the word Adivasis. I could have used Aborigines, but Aborigines carries a negative connotation in the West, and Adivasis is a beautiful word, which is just spot on, I thought. How was the after the king had settled? The question was, how was the settler king to legitimize his hegemony? What is hegemony? Varchasva. How was the settler king to legitimize his hegemony over these, the children of nature? Their world was small and contained, poor on the scales of pelf, happy otherwise. They were kin to the hills and streams, sharing bonds with birds and beasts. How should the king affect his rule on such as these? Disinterested in the state. The state here is in the Marxian sense, the whole establishment of government. How should the king affect his rule on such as these, disinterested in the state, on whom force would do little more than sword subduing the breeze? You may wave the sword this way and that on the breeze. It cuts the breeze, but it does not cut the breeze. It does not subdue the breeze at all. Same was the dilemma here. Then the royal strategist advised, use their gods. The numerous habitations dotting Bastar had each its own goddess, the Mata, mother, special to the village, guardian of a myriad offspring, hills, forests, humans, flora, fauna. The strategist advised to win over the tribes, win over their gods. The king's tutelary goddess, Danteshwari, was proclaimed a younger sibling of Mauli, the primal mother of Bastar. The younger sibling sought and got refuge in her Akka's home. Blue blood Danteshwari. Why blue blood? Because she is the royal deity. Blue blood Danteshwari prospered with speed. Through royal support, her influence spread. Her goodies mushroomed in the villages around, defining so the king's domain. Even today, if anybody goes to Dantewada, many of us would have gone to Dantewada and more than once. But many of us may not have even observed the shrine of Mauli, which is just next to the shrine of Danteshwari. And if you compare the size and the importance given there to the two shrines, then you will know how Danteshwari, in fact, began to dominate Mauli. Dushera in Bastar grew into a pivotal event. Dushera obviously came from Warangal. Dushera in Bastar grew into a pivotal event. An annual congregation of the royal Danteshwari's adopted siblings. The king became the high priest of Bastar. Now, because their deity has been invited, there here refers to those bodies working on the logs there to build a chariot. Now, because their deity, the deity from their village, now, because their deity has been invited, black, brown bodies glistening in sweat labor every year to build a new chariot for the priest king to ride in majesty. Black, brown bodies glistening in sweat shall later pull the juggernaut to the glory of their matas, come as royal guests. Their toil is their privilege. It's cultured into them that it is their special privilege of this village to do this particular work. One builds the wheels, one the main axles, one the rope, twines the rope with which it will be pulled, and other Murias pull the chariot that way. And the Mundas sing in front of the chariot. Their toil is their privilege, their sweat a tribute to the king, the priest. This is the inside story of Bastar Dushera, or rather how the tribes were conquered. But when tourists come, what happens? Tourists from India and abroad throng to the famous Bastar Dushera and wonder at the curious affection Adivasis bear for their Kakatiya king. Thanks, that was a poem. So I suppose now my part is done. Over to you, Vinti.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for your wonderful deliberation and for such insightful knowledge and making us aware about the hidden facts of our own Bastar, the most prominent part of Chhattisgarh, and again making us believe that we indeed live in incredible Chhattisgarh. We definitely feel like we have been there, and as you were the part of that part of Chhattisgarh, and you shared with us very insightfully, and we feel like we personally witnessed that festival. Thank you so much, sir, and we are really honored to have you with us. Now it's time for all the participants to ask any queries to the resource person. If there is any question, you can ask to sir now. Related to the topic, if there is any question, I ask the participants to kindly present your questions.
Sir, sir, Abhishek, this side, MA third semester student of Chhattisgarh College.
Please
So my
go on.
question is, sir, you have said that Bastar Dushera now is a Sarkari program. Sir, how can you justify it?
Well, that's a good question. What had happened was, I assume that you'd know the history of Bastar a bit and how the last king to sit on the gaddi of Bastar, that is Pravir Chandra Vanchdev, was killed under very unfortunate circumstances. After that, his brother was made into a king. But the chieftains, the tribal chieftains of Bastar, refused to accept him because they actually had very high regard for Pravir Chandra Vanchdev. And this, the government, the then government, Bastar was a part of Madhya Pradesh at that time. And at that time, the government mulled that every year, if we are to organize Dussehra, there'll be so many tribes folk coming. There could be law and order situations. The wounds would be renewed, etc. So it was mulled that why not do away with Bastar Dushera entirely. Do away meaning why not government withdraw its involvement with Bastar Dushera. That time, it was brought to the notice of the government by Sri Mankuram Sodi, who was a close associate of Pravir Chandra Vanchdev and was a minister in the state government at that time. He brought it to the notice of the state government that in 1947, when the princely states were amalgamated into the Indian Union, there was an agreement always with the between the Home Ministry of Government of India and the princely state concerned. In the case of Bastar, in this agreement, Pravir Chandra Vanchdev had made it a point to include that the state government will continue to support and sponsor the celebration of Bastar Dushera. It was for that reason that annually substantial grants are granted. And whereas the king earlier would preside over the organizing committee, now an elected representative does it. Who should be the chairman of the organizing committee is actually meant to be done through election in a meeting of the chieftains of the 9 Parganas. The meeting is held, but it is held in the collector's chamber. And normally what happens is, it's a foregone conclusion as to who will be elected. And well, the name is taken, and that is that, and it's done. After the farewell of the deities, because apart from priests, the mukhyas, Manchi mukhyas, are invited to the Bastar Dushera. The king would organize a Murya Darbar in which the chieftains would be there, and he'd collect intelligence as to what's happening in which part and what are the problems. They voice their problems, and he'd try to solve them, and then he'd give them some gifts. They'd have brought tributes for him. He'd return, there would be return gifts, etc., etc. Today, normally, it is the chief minister of the state who does that, because Bastar Dushera provides a very significant platform, politically speaking. So all the expenditure, all the organizational part is done by the Tahsildar of Jagdalpur. So there is absolutely really no scope of work left for the tribes folk, apart from the fact that they bring their tribal deities, sort of clanging the bell and sort of with whatever little humble pomp and show that they can do. So they come here and they go back. That is that, and they have a 3-day sort of a 3-day, 9-day sort of stay here. That is that. Otherwise, it's really a state-sponsored event and a state-organized event, and there is no apology about that now. I hope that answers your question.
I hope you've got your answer, Mr. Abhishek Kumar.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. If there are any more questions, you can ask now.
I want to ask. Actually, after reading the Bastar poem, I was just exploring everything about Bastar Dushera, and I have prescribed this poem in my college. So I'm really very happy that Sir is speaking and has recited the poem. Actually, I have read that probably a historian called Menon in 1938. He says something about the ritual Naya Khani. And he says that Bastar Dushera started because the tribals felt aggrieved that despite being the majority of king's subject, they could not take part in the essentially Hindu celebrations. So they wanted their own Dushera, which they said could not, only be held in their own home, that is the jungle. So they kidnapped the king when asleep and took him and his chariot to Kumbutka Court, which was a dense jungle then. The king somehow made an understanding with them and rode the chariot back in triumph. Is it true, sir?
Well, I too have heard this kind of story, but I really can't vouchsafe with regard to the truth of it. Today, as it stands, in any case, the stealing of the chariot and the pulling back of the chariot is a religio socio ritual and the stolen chariot is there in everybody's view. Earlier that Kumra Court was a part of a jungle, but now after the new road has been built, well, it's in everybody's sight as you are going to Raipur on the left-hand side, as you are coming from Raipur on the right-hand side, the moment you enter Jagdalpur. So, in 1938, well, very difficult to say, because in 1938, to my knowledge, there was no king at that time. It was under the Court of Wards because the Queen had died in London, and Praveer Chandra Vanshdev was a minor, so there was a Court of Wards. Maybe the years differ, I can't say. So very difficult really to say anything with certitude. So let's keep that as one of the popular tales.
Because he says that this Naya Khani reveals Dussehra as an act of negotiation between people and the king. The king legitimized his own position as essential to the well-being of the land, and by eating the fruits and things that were offered to him, and the people in turn subordinated the kingship through their own needs of agricultural prosperity.
Yeah, true. That makes a sense as far as the sort of the socio-religio magic part of Bastar Dushera is concerned. That makes a lot of sense, because Nawakhani, like Amad Tihar, is one of the first fruits festivals. First fruits festivals, I suppose, we understand. We have it in the mainstream also. For instance, Shankranti is a first fruits festival. So whatever are the first fruits of the crop that you have cultivated or gathered, you offer that. In the case of Bastar, even Mahua season is in March, April, but Mahua is not consumed till Nawakhani. It's just gathered and processed and stored in the house. But the actual consumption of it begins only after the Nawakhani. So, quite likely that there were tensions earlier also between the two, because the interests of the two crisscrossed. In some matters, yes, they had common interest. Now, when Praveer Chandra Vanshdev, if he insisted that state sponsorship for Bastar Dushera should be a permanent feature and a condition of accession to the Indian Union, well, he too had his vested interests in the tribes. I was once discussing with a very close associate of Praveer Chandra Vanshdev, and I asked him this: his fight for the tribes, was it for his own interest or was he fighting for the tribes? That man, without sort of winking, instantly he replied, it was entirely for himself he was doing. If you read Praveer's sort of quasi-autobiography, I, Praveer, the Adivasi God, he's discussing all along the issues of his privy purse and the issues of his sort of role in the new setup, that he has absolutely no role, etc., etc. There is very little of Bastar or the Bastar tribes really in that book. So it's quite possible that there could be tensions even earlier in varying degrees. Yeah.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. This is really, really interesting.
Thank you, ma'am.
Excuse me, Vinti, please, just a second. Whenever talking, anyone, please switch on your video so that we can put a name to the face. Yeah, please, thank you.
Right. Thank you, sir. So if there is any further queries, you can ask now, or otherwise we'll move ahead. If not, then I thank everyone. And I thank you,
sorry for intervening, before you thank everyone, I would like to thank all of you who took time on a crucial day today, especially Dr. Ghanshyam for the wonderful forum that he has set up, and Dr. Kirti Tiwari because she has the right kind of values, I think, for any MA course, that she's focusing more on subjects of local relevance and subjects and topics that the students can connect to. That's a very, very sort of a bold and brave measure. I'd also like to thank Dr. Archana Singh. She's been at it for more than 2 weeks now. And of course, Vinti, you for wonderfully moderating this event. Thank you all. It was my pleasure today. Over to you, Vinti.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. So now moving ahead, I would like to call upon the patron of ISLCG Forum and the chairperson of today's event, our beloved Dr. Kirti ma'am. Dr. Kirti Tiwari, Professor and Head Department of Postgraduate and Research Studies at Government JY Chhattisgarh College, Raipur. She founded Research Center and Postgraduate Library in the English Department in Government JY Chhattisgarh College. She is recognized Research Supervisor of Pandit Ravi Shankar Shukla University and Maths University. She has produced 7 PhDs and at present she is guiding 2 candidates for the doctoral degree. She was the chairperson of UG Board of Studies of English Language and English Literature of Chhattisgarh State. She was the chairperson of PG Board of Studies of Pandit Ravi Shankar Shukla University. She was the member of Result Committee, Academic Council and Examination Council, and also the member of Library Committee of PRSU. She was also the chairperson of UG and PG Board of Studies in Government Chhattisgarh College, former member of Planning and Valuation Board of Pandit Ravi Shankar Shukla University. She has chaired plenary and technical session in UGC-sponsored national seminars in different states. She is the academic PG counselor of IGNOU of MA English program at Indira Gandhi National Open University. She renders professional services to PSC, Vyapam, SSC, Central Jail, and other organizations. She has a specialization in British drama, Indian writing in English, and English language and phonetics. She was appointed convener of Committee on Education Policy of the State of Chhattisgarh. She served as the State Nodal Officer, University Nodal Officer, and District Nodal Officer of English for developing e-content for UG and PG courses of Chhattisgarh and RSU during Corona lockdown in April and May 2020. She was also the convener of National Seminar and Workshop on Gandhian Thought and Culture and Research Methodology. She has been awarded gold medals for topping the merit list in both her graduation and post-graduation years. She is indeed the most remarkable personality, and I feel blessed that I got the opportunity to study under her. I call upon my mentor, my guide, Dr. Kirti Tiwari ma'am, for her valuable remarks. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Vinti, for your affectionate introduction that you have given of mine. I extend my warm greetings to one and all. Esteemed K.S. Ram sir, Dr. Uma Ram ma'am, founder Ghanshyam sir, founder and general secretary of ISPEL, and convener and the coordinator of today's event, Dr. Archana Singh, President Dr. Harpreet Garsha, all the professors and research scholars and my students who have gathered here and are present and participating in this event. And of course, my dear Vinti, who is doing the great job of Master of Ceremonies. It's an immense pleasure for me to be here in this Saturday intellectual meet. And I'm really feeling very proud to be here. And my privilege and opportunity that I've got to listen to K.S. Ram sir's deliberation, because he has chosen such a worthwhile topic and title, quite an arresting title, and he has explained right in the beginning why he has chosen that, which was very different from others. Literature, as we know, is a document of society. It expands our imagination and it refines our moral and social sensibilities. And actually, while reading it, we need to go beyond the appeal to common experience and into the territory of psychological research also, and how things were, because history just record the facts, but literature tells us how that happened. So Ramsar's topic, significance of Bastar Dushera for the students of literature, was one such approach, and therefore very relevant. He has given some very valuable insights on a very interesting subject. He has successfully shown that how even a festival can emerge as an essentially promising site for critical analysis from literary point of view. And because we are getting everything from the horse's mouth, it's most authentic. So, sir, your talk was very interesting, arresting, insightful, and wonderful, I would say. No, the emotional situations and moral dilemmas, as well as the struggle for existence that are the stuff of literature, are also exercised for the brain studies, and because they suggest our real life. And by doing so, we really become sensitive towards other human beings. Actually, people who haven't had the privilege of reading literature, of transforming themselves in the fictional individualities, they become emotional label. So coming to the topic today, it was a well chosen topic, as I have said. Sir has oriented us to the study of literature. He has explained the significance of Bastar Dushera, which is the longest festival, I think 75 days long, the longest festival of the world. And I'm of a confirmed opinion that after listening to Sir's talk, the participants will be able to appreciate work of literature better. Uh, if I split it in more clear terms, they will be able to complete the task of appreciation by bringing together the capacities which Sir has tried to develop in this program. And we feel that not only the participants, we teachers, and I feel better equipped to study literature, as Sir has beautifully in his poem, otherwise Dashera means only the concept is it's a victory of Ram over Ravan, but this is very different. So the history behind is also quite different. So we can say that Bastar Dushera has the poem Bastar Dushera has history within literature. So literature is not only a gateway to the past, but it also is suggestive of our present and future. Literature allows a person to step back in time and learn about life on earth from ones who walked before us. From we can gather a better understanding of culture and have better appreciation of them. We can learn through the ways of history, how history is recorded in different forms of literature. Sir has shown how we can learn about various tribes of Bastar. It's really amazing the way the festival is, organized, and the way the chariots are built, because each and every village has their own responsibility, and there is used to be no organization behind, and every village would contribute, and such a dignity of labor. A particular one will bring the wood and all that. Sir has very well explained that. And because they have been doing that, and every year one new chariot is built. So I have read in a news article that in this era, modern era of media, like television and movies, people are misled to think that life is very rosy, and every question or problem has its quick corrections and solutions. but it is literature which tells us about the complexities of human life and how there is a long struggle behind it. So Dashera is not just this thing, sir has explained that how it was actually a subordination of the tribes by the royals. As they could not conquer them the other way by because today the modern man would be lured by greed, material greed. You can offer money and anything, but tribals were not like that. So they found the other way to do it. That is something which is very insightful, and we should think about every such event from such different perspectives. Literature is reflection of humanity and a way for us to understand each other. And Bastar Dushera is an example of that. Uh, as I have said, I have prescribed this poem. I was, when I was going, I was reading in every poem in the Bastar and miscellaneous poems is so interesting that I did not know how to choose just one, because it was for BA final literature students, whereas in MA I have prescribed Sir's translated novel Bhulan Kanda. So I thought in Indian writing in English in poetry section, maybe next year we will introduce some more poems in MA also. So after reading the poems so many times, I thought, no, this is good because it relates to history, and the students of this area must know. Otherwise, we don't know about such historical background. We go there for pleasure, we just see the Shara and we come back. So this was a very interesting poem, and I'm so delighted to listen to Sir's recital of the poem. It was really a thrilling experience, and it must have been for the participants also. When a poet is reciting his own poem, it's simply wonderful. Just as Charles Dickens reading out some portions of his. This is something very unique that has happened, and we are very lucky, that we have Sir with us, and he's so kind. The day Singh Madam asked whom to invite, I said you invite the Sir, because he would be telling us something about our own state. So if we are in a state forum, we should invite him. So the Dushera of Bastar is multi-layered aggregations of different meanings it has, and it goes back to different historical periods and events, and drawing upon different ensembles of tradition. And some are pan-Indian and high Hindu, and some are specific to Bastar. So in this way, it has been a very, very interesting poem, and Sir has clarified it all the more. I have noted, I have got this Bastar poem here, and while he was reading and explaining, I have noted everything in this itself in pencil. And lastly, I would like to say that Bastar is something very different. One of the critics said, and this I liked very much, Bastar Dushera can be called a riddle of antiquity, riddles of antiquity. Explored because Bastar is a land where you will find primitive tribes. So explored at close quarters during the British Raj by celebrated anthropologist Verin Elwin, Bastar is a potent symbol of antiquity and anthropological diversity, providing visitors a stunning array of cultural experiences. So it is in this poem Bastar Dushera, it is like microcosm of what actually the whole Dushera, Bastar is. So after reading each poem, we get so excited and we want to know more about Bastar and this thing. Once again, I thank Sir for accepting our invitation. I also thank the coordinator for choosing me as the chairperson of this event. I consider it a great privilege, and thanks to the participant also. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you all.
Thank you for your wonderful deliberation. So, as we have reached the end of today's event, I would like to call upon the co-convener of ISLCDG Forum, Dr. Rita Soni ma'am, for the vote of thanks and to give away the certificates.
Good
I
evening,
hand over the
everyone.
stage to you, ma'am.
Good evening. On behalf of the ISIL, I, Dr. Rita Soni, extend our gratitude to Dr. Ram sir. Sir, really, it was enthralling to hear from you. Sir, it was festive to be with you. You have safely led us to the journey of Bastar. We are highly indebted to you, sir. I express my thanks to you. And truly, you have said, peaceful coexistence is the mantra of the Dushera festival. I extend my gratitude to our patron, Dr. Kirti Madam, for her zeal and zest and beautifully summing up the entire discourse. My gratitude and thanks to our President, Garcha Ma'am, and we wish her speedy recovery. Our thanks to dear Vinti for smoothly leading us to this session. My thanks to our coordinator, Dr. Archana. I express my thanks to all the participants, academicians, and intellectuals to be the part of this session. Thank you.
Nurul, are you there?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Nurul, please share certificates.
Just a second.
Okay. Rita madam, please.
G. Okay. Sir, as a token of love, respect, we appreciate and applaud your presence. So we would like to honor you with just our token of love, a small certificate. Please, sir, it would be honor for us.
Yeah, I gratefully accept that. Great honor.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Naturally, our love towards our dear Kirti ma'am. Ma'am, we would like to honor you with a certificate. Our chairperson, Dr. Kirti ma'am.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. And dear Vinti, for being so eloquent.
Thank
We
you,
would
ma'am.
like we like to honor you also with a certificate as a token of love.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Welcome, Mr. Welcome. And our coordinator, dear Dr. Archana ma'am, we would also like to honor you for your patience and for your cooperation. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Ram sir, it's indeed a great pleasure listening to you after a long time. And I was really waiting for it. And the moment I entered Bastar after a long gap, though I haven't visited Bastar, but I could see the last district of Chhattisgarh, Sukma. And then now I'll be going to Bijapur, Bhairamgarh, Konta, all these places. So it's not only quite charming, but it's quite interesting also to see and to get to know about the various aspects of literature through the tribals, through the nature, and through flora and fauna, and also through the rituals. And they attract us towards our own, what you call it as the basics of our own culture. So in that way, the Dashera of Bastar is not only worldwide, it's famous, but it has made its identity in the form of cultural evidence. It has made its identity in the form of like what we call of our being. And that's what Bastar Dashera is all about. Though it has been now turned into a kind of a ritual kind of a thing, but it's not a ritual, it's the way of leading their own lives and making happiness out of it and revealing the treasure of the life. And in that way, this lecture was really interesting. At the same time, it has opened up
many more vistas, not only to go through it, but also to analyze and really go deep into it to see to it how it's happening. So thank you very much for doing the honors on the platform of ISPEL, sir.
Vinti,
Yes, ma'am.
you can proceed and declare.
It's time to conclude. Vinti, hand over the stage to the patron, ma'am, so that.
Yeah. So as we have reached the end of today's event, I would like to thank each and everyone present here for making this event a successful one. And once again, I thank Sir for taking out time from his schedule and gracing this event with his presence and his deliberation. And I thank each and everyone who made this event a successful one, directly or indirectly contributing to it. And once again, I would again thank ma'am for giving me the opportunity. And now I would like to hand over the stage to patron ma'am. Ma'am, please.
And
I have already spoken.
and special thanks to
Once
the excuse me, ma'am, just a second. Actually, a special thank to J. Ghanasam sir for being with us patiently throughout the session.
He is always there. He is,
And the beautiful comment and the beautiful comment on the session also.
After all, he is a Ghansham, na? So he is only present without the knowledge of us. So thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your presence and being present here without us even knowing. Thank you for your presence, sir.
Thank you, Ghansham sir, and thank you for giving me an opportunity to be the patron. I really love it, and this will go on with the blessings of all of you. So
Yes, ma'am. Basically, the patron is the proton of ISPEL.
You are the nucleus, sir. Anyway, I wish all of you good night and sweet dreams. We'll dream of Dushera today. And it is very pertinent that we have conducted a program on Dushera when Dushera is very near. In fact, the rituals are going on in Bastar. So thank you, Ashna ma'am. Thank you, everyone.
Okay.
Good night.
Thank you. Good night.
We'll meet.
Thankful to Nurul also.
Yeah,
thank you, ma'am.
So
Thank
much
you.
because of Nurul. Yes.
Yes, in spite of several hurdles, he could make it. In the afternoon, we were quite nervous. How would we do it? But he said no, he will do it. So thank you, Nurul. And
Thank
we will all meet tomorrow in ISPEL India.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am.
Thank all the members of the ISPEL platform.
Yeah.
Great event.
Thank you.